Welcome back to the shop. Today I'm going to talk about my simple and fairly inexpensive sharpening system. Now I see a lot of people on YouTube, in woodworking magazines and stuff, and they have very complicated, very expensive sharpening systems. And the fact is, in order to get a sharp tool, you don't really have to go to the extremes. You don't need to buy the most expensive stuff. I mean, I know some people just they like to own the most expensive stuff. And, some of that stuff it might be 10 or 20% better or usually more like 5 or 10. But if you're just like a home gamer like me, you really don't do this for a living. This isn't my job. So I don't need to have everything be the most efficient possible. I just need something that's reasonably inexpensive and works. So this is what I found that works pretty well for me. So my system consists of this Norton combination stone. It's an oil stone. Some oil to go along with it, although I'm pretty sure you can use just about any light oil, like a 3-in-1 oil I'm sure would work. And then a green sharpening compound. Sometimes they call it rouge, even though this one isn't red, it's green. So this is stuff they use on buffing wheels and whatnot. And then I made a real simple strop. Usually people use leather, but I thought, I had this denim, old pair of pants. I thought, would that actually work as a strap? And it turns out that it does. So maybe I'll get some leather sometime, but this is just a piece of 2x4 that I planed smooth. And then I cut a piece of denim to size and stapled it on there. So this seems to work pretty well for me. I'll show you how I do it and show you how sharp I can get the blade. I start with the medium grit. You can see some little pieces of brass in here because I used this to sharpen something that was brass, but it doesn't seem to change the performance of it at all to have a little bit of those finings or whatever they call it in there. So I'll put a little bit of oil. One thing I've been experimenting with is actually just using water, because I read in Fine Woodworking magazine that you could actually just use water on the oil stones, and that actually seems to work as well. So one of the nice things about using oil is then at the same time that you're sharpening, you're actually oiling your tool a little bit, so you're preventing some rust. Another thing to think about. So the normal way that I sharpen is I kind of start a little bit low and then I gradually increase the angle until I can hear and kind of feel a little bit of change that you can tell that you're actually hitting the edge of it. It'll feel different because you're actually starting to like dig into the stone a little bit. So you want to be, I think, right around that point. That seems to work pretty well for me. And I usually do about 50 strokes, something like that. It's probably overkill, but seems to work. And you can tell that I got to that edge because I can feel a burr all the way along the edge. So then I'll wipe off this side lightly with paper towel. I used to use like a cloth rag, but I always found that I was getting lint into the stone, so that's not good. Now I'll switch to the fine side. So when I look at the edge of the chisel, what I'm looking for is first of all that it's straight across, so I can tell that I've been applying even pressure, not favoring one side or the other, so I want it to be even across. I also want to see that it's the same level of shininess all the way across the end. So that means that I got all of it, so it's all pretty even. Now I can move over to the strop. Strop has a tendency to move, so I usually clamp it to the bench. And then I do between 50 and 100 strokes. Kind of depends how I feel, you know, what I'm feeling like that day. I don't know if you can see this, but it's starting to get more of a mirror polish at the end. Because basically this is a polishing compound, so it's what you'd use if you wanted to polish some jewelry or something. So you're getting that edge even finer than with the stone. But I can still feel that there's the burr across the other edge. So now I'm going to do a few swipes on the flat edge. And I always make sure when I'm doing this to hold it really tight against the strop, because I don't want to don't want to lift up and to start to round over this edge. I don't want any angle on this edge or on this side. This side should be perfectly flat, right? You want all of the angle on this side. So that burr is gone now. So let's see how sharp it is. Yeah, that is, it's sharp enough to shave your arm like a razor. It is plenty sharp. So as you can see, it's a pretty simple sharpening system. What I like about it is that it's also really cheap. It was only about $50 to buy everything. It gets you very sharp, you know, as sharp as a razor. So that's sharp enough for me. And it doesn't take very much time to do. So really, like, let's not overthink it. Sharpening does not have to be super complicated. It can actually be pretty cheap and fairly simple. If you guys got any sharpening tips, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you next time. Take care.